In case you haven't realized by now, I was a pretty mischievous child growing up. So the only way I would really listen to a parent or a teacher is if there was like either some really good incentive or if there was a fear of consequences. Like other than that, I probably wasn't going to listen. Now, I think that's pretty natural for children growing up, but I think it's also natural to kind of drag those motivations into adulthood and into a relationship with God. And I believe today Paul is going to show us a better way. So we're in Philippians 2. I'm going to read the first 4 verses. Therefore, if you have any encouragement of being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any sharing in his spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or a vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. So why does Paul just not start off in verse 2 and say, therefore, be like-minded? Like, why does he start off with all these if clauses in verse 1? Well, I believe what he's doing, it lies at the heart of his understanding of the gospel. And that is our obedience, it doesn't stem from a harsh mechanical command, but rather obedience and joy are intertwined, right? Obedience is a response to the gospel. Obedience for the Christian flows from love, not to get love. Right? Paul loves to lavish us with encouraging, hope-giving reality before he commands us. He's saying you are in these realities so you can do these things, right? So he lavishes us and then he commands us. Now he goes on to say to be people who are like-minded. Now just think in and of itself how unattainable this feels on the surface. How can people who are from different backgrounds, different ages, different genders, different life experiences, different strengths, different weaknesses, different hurts, possibly have the same mind? Now, certainly biblical unity consists of, submitting our lives unreservedly to the gospel so that the things that would normally divide us have so moved to the periphery that they are no longer a requirement for partnership. That is very true, foundational. But let's see something else too here. In chapter 4, Paul is going to go on to say in verses 2 and 3, I plead with you, Euodia and Syntyche, to be of the same mind in the Lord. And yes, I ask you, my true companion, help these women who have contended at my side for the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of the co-workers whose names are written in the book of life. So we see from this passage then Jesus' words come to life. Blessed are the peacemakers. In that, really, Paul is encouraging a leader to actively step in to bring a resolution to this conflict between two church leaders. Now, we live in a culture in which we hear things like, you do you, right? There's a very individualistic type of mindset where stepping into someone's life to confront in a loving way is looked down upon. And at times, this mindset can really permeate its way into the church as well, and its ramifications can be very harmful. Right? We have people in the Bible, we're described as interconnected, interdependent parts of the body, and yet we can be afraid to remove a splinter from a toe, to reset a broken arm, or to give hot compresses to someone who has back pain. And yet biblical unity cannot be achieved with this individualistic approach. Now, let's be the first to admit that at times we have messed up that approach. But the answer to the misguided ways of restoring unity is not to avoid it altogether. Right? So it's to do so as it's laid out in Scripture. It's to really dive in. It's not a passive approach, but an active endeavor. So in other words, biblical unity won't happen by accident. It's going to require hard conversations. It's going to require vulnerability. It will require humility. It will require confession. It will require listening to understand rather than listening to respond. And most of all, it's going to require prizing the gospel over and above what people think of us. It will feel a bit like picking up our cross, and that's what it means to have the attitude set of Christ. And so I just want to encourage us, as hard as this may be, the benefits are far worth it.